Are you okay?
Yes, I'm south of the danger area.
I was about a mile away from one of the fires, but we've been
Oh,
safe.
I you're safe.
As they say, inshallah, because God is
Uh,
greatest and He's gracious too.
Very sad to hear all that. All prayers for them.
Yes.
Okay.
I have some dear friends that lost everything. And
Oh, that
if,
Oh
if
my
you've been in Los Angeles very long, you have somebody that has lost everything because it's just amazing. And two areas where I used to live close to finished. Yeah.
Okay.
sad.
Let's
Well,
see.
we get to be able to take care of our Mother Earth a lot better and actually follow some of the indigenous wisdom. I put in a question to AI yesterday about such things and how
Okay.
we can actually uh, I wanted to be able to get kids in schools to go and replant and clean up and do all kinds of things because they see all the devastation. They hear all the people wanting to try to do something, but they think they're hopeless, and they're not. They could easily go and do something, and when they plant trees or plants and so on, and they see them grow later on in their life, I mean, they're inspired to do more things for everybody and everything.
Oh, good. What a wonderful idea.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Well, I've been an educator all my life, and I love kids, so what can you do?
Yes, and for those of you who don't know, Kurt organizes peacemaker circles all around the world, I think, Kurt, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have every continent but Antarctica right now, but we're working on it. I can't say we get to play with making it happen because when you work, it produces too much effort. And there's a
Mm,
Shaolin master that even supports me in this idea of using words that empower rather than disempower,
true.
that forth juice instead of suppress it, you know?
Yeah. I was just like listening one song and we pray by Chris Martin. That is a very famous band Coldplay. He said that when I was making that song, why I use this word particularly and we pray because I do not want to limit myself to one continent or to one person. And and keeping in mind all these things, then he said that we have chosen these lines. He sang the song. The band Coldplay. You must have heard that name.
If you can put it in, we can check it out on Spotify or whatever other streaming service we have.
Beautiful lyrics, and we pray. It's all about the world that we should pray for the world and pray for like everything.
Oh, yes,
I'll
definitely.
Okay, we're just going to see we're at 9:06. I think we'll give it 2 more minutes and then we will get the show on the road.
I'll put it in the chat the ebook on what I talked about on.
let's hear the song meanwhile.
Yes.
Okay, let me.
We have a big feast today in the little village where I live in the mountains, and everyone's dancing, and we had a big procession, and everybody got free food.
Oh,
Where, where
Yeah.
are you?
I'm in Compata, a little white village in the Spanish Costa del Sol, about half an hour from the coast.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
celebrating San Sebastian today. Of
if
course,
you
it's
listen to Find Your People, I can put that in the chat too. The words are perfect for us these days. And if we are waiting a bit, I could actually play it if you'd like.
why not?
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead. How long? We a couple of minutes, 2 minutes, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Anna, you're already dancing up and down and backwards and on your head.
I'm going to do that. I don't like sitting anyway, and I do love dancing. So do what you want to do.
I've shared the song in the link. Yeah.
Okay. Kurt, we're not hearing. Does anybody hear?
Yes, we are. We are here.
No,
I
no,
don't.
you're hearing what
No, no, no. We cannot.
okay.
No, we can there.
I think though we should probably here it comes.
Okay.
Okay. Kurt, can you do that now or
What'd you say?
you were going to play something, I thought?
Oh, I thought you heard it. I was playing it on my computer, and I thought I you hear me right now, don't you?
I,
Good on
I
you.
I hear you, but what you're playing, I don't hear. You probably have to. I've given you rights to share your screen. You should be able to share your screen,
Okay, let me see.
and then we should be able to hear what's going on your computer.
Entire screen. Do you see the? Do you see it
Yes,
Yes.
now?
No,
yes.
Start this over.
But we're not hearing anything though, Kurt. Um,
we can only see that.
Bummer. Okay. Well, I'll
okay,
put the link in the chat.
okay, that would be good. Okay, so if you could stop sharing your screen then, Kurt.
I got to get to see the big. Oh, there it is.
Okay. I hope that's not going to be an indication because I have several things I want to share with you on the screen today. Okay, let's start. Hi, I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub, and I declare this meeting on 18 January 2025 to be open. The topic for today's meeting is really a continuation of the last meeting. If you recall, just before the holiday break, we came up with the idea to invite people to collaborate in creating knowledge hubs where we make it possible to collect all the critical knowledge on topics, whatever topics, in a knowledge hub, and then be able to access that knowledge hub or enable people around the world to be able to uh, access that knowledge hub and be able to do research against it, to do analysis, to create reports, to create audio podcasts, uh, um, literally anything. And so we're going to so that was the idea. The last session last week, we demonstrated some tools that make it possible to do the research, collect the information, and make it available. And part of what we demonstrated was a series of tools that make it possible for anybody to learn anything, literally. You want to learn how to use some incredibly complex software? You just go into AI Studio and you say, "Hey, I'm going to start this software that I don't know how to use, and I'm just going to ask AI to guide me through the process of using the software." And we're going to take a look at how that works a little later. But this is one example of that we went through last time. So we also talked about some of the changes that are coming to some of these tools that make it's mind-boggling what you can do now. And of course, as we look forward into even next month or 3 months, 6 months is almost beyond belief. We really have to question here whether we're going to recognize the world in 6 months, or whatever anybody is talking about at the UN or anywhere else will even be relevant in 6 months' time. And if that sounds crazy, I did not queue up to play the videos here where reports from Goldman Sachs, from MIT, and others projecting what's likely to happen just in months, not years anymore, just months, and stretching out here to 2030. Hundreds of millions of jobs will be lost. They're projecting here as many as 47% of all jobs in the United States will no longer exist. And of course, what that means for our society is mind-boggling. So, but for us right now, the issue is, who believes that? Where's the evidence? How do we know? Is that likely to happen? How do we know what the impacts might be on society? So our thought was, let's create a place where we can collect the research, the authoritative sources and people who are studying these things and their projections. So you can gather all that information. We can gather it from the perspective of what's happening in medicine, what's happening in education, what's happening in developing countries, what's happening in the informal economies of the world out there. All these different perspectives, we want to be able to make it possible to collect that information. We also want to make it possible here to collect information. We've had numerous meetings, and I'll be having another one in a couple of months with model UN students from around the world, talking about what is it that the representatives of countries, the delegates of countries in the United Nations, how do they approach discussing the major problems of the world and coming up with solution ideas that lead to actions that could be effective? In other words, can we come up with a toolkit based on artificial intelligence that would assist delegates to the United Nations or to any parliament or any leaders anywhere in being able to understand the various problems they're facing, what the options are, and also how to convince or to gain consensus around issues. And in other words, it's not enough to have ideas. You have to have people who share those ideas and believe in them and want to make them happen. So the AI right now, believe it or not, you can go in and you can say, I need to convince so many of these people. Here's all those people. Maybe it's the representatives to the third committee at the UN, or it could be just some people based on names. And how do I do that? An AI will go analyze those people and indicate which ones are more likely to react to what arguments. And it will actually enable you, it will do practice sessions with you. In other words, it can role play. It can take on the persona of those people you're trying to convince. And you can make your pitch, and it will argue back and forth how it expects those people would probably react. And so you can practice your pitch, if you would, and see where was the reaction negative and how can you improve it and the like. Anyway, so the thought was, though, for today's session, the primary thought was, let's deepen the demonstrations of how we can move forward, because the tools are advancing so quickly that even a week ago, things we were talking about, there are new things that have come to light to assist us or assist the people we are inviting to participate in these various research hubs. And it's unlimited. We can have thousands. Whatever some group out there says, hey, this is what I want to research, then they can start a hub and invite others to collaborate with them on curating the information that's relative to that problem area, and beginning to ask analytical questions to better understand what's going on and why things are going on. That's actually, I want to just stop for a second on that, because one thing that's I find very interesting when I talk to a lot of people and ask them, do you interact with ChatGPT or any other AI tool? And a lot of people say yes. And then I ask, and they say, well, I ask, what's this, or what's that, or how does that work, or how does this work? And what I find is that those sessions are relatively short. You ask a question, you get an answer, okay, you're done. I find here that most of the questions I ask are different. I'm typically asking why. Why is something the way it is? I ask how, but then I ask why. Or I ask a lot of what ifs. What if this were to happen? What would be the likely impact, and why do you think that's the likely impact? And as a result, my sessions typically go for at least 30 minutes. Some of them go 2 to 3 hours of back and forth. I don't have it out here, but I've shown some of you here. I had a session about how can we close the education preparation gap for preschoolers. There's a lot of people in different countries or even different parts of the United States here where perhaps their parents have not had an education themselves. Maybe they have a migration background, or maybe they don't speak the language of the schools in their homes, so that the time when they're ready to go to school, their language skills are way down. And we even have the Bloomberg Foundation studies that demonstrate that children from working and welfare class families often have up to a 2-year gap in verbal vocabulary and mental maturity when they start school. And that is typically a gap that never gets overcome. And so the studies we did here, for example, in New Jersey, here we're in the United States, and we see that at fourth grade, the top 10% of primary schools in New Jersey, we have an average of 92%. Those schools have an average of 92% of their children at grade level. But if we look at the bottom 10%, that we see the average is only around 7%. 7%. A huge gap. And we see that those schools coming from those communities, that has been the case. If we could go back 10 years, and we see none of those schools ever get to 10% of their children at grade level. So if you have the misfortune to be born into one of those communities, your kids are just out of luck. And we see that in those schools in 2 of the major cities, including the capital of New Jersey, Trenton, Camden, New Jersey, the city right across the river from Philadelphia, that 50% of the students in those schools drop out. They don't complete school. That's in the United States. And there are 73,000 children in those bottom 10% of schools just here in New Jersey. So this is not something, well, it's just a little fringe group out there. This is is really serious. So I started a conversation here with ChatGPT. Why is this so? And once we got beyond the standard answers of, oh, well, their teachers aren't as good, or they don't have the money, which we went in, looked at the studies, and we found out that some of those schools in the bottom 10% spend 40% more per child than the most successful schools. And the other thing we found is looking at the quality of teachers, there was no significant difference between the quality of teachers in those schools that are failing and the schools that are succeeding. What we did find was that gap of, depending on where the parents, their education levels, their language skills levels, and so forth, were most impactful. And then the home life, even after they get into school, is less conducive to learning. Those were the major factors. So then I went in to ask, okay, well, what can we do about it? And it went back and forth, back and forth. And anyways, I ended up with a 50-page document outlining here ways we could close the preparation, the education preparation gap with the support of AI, even down to the point where AI gave me the prompts that would guide the AI to help these children close that gap, because they would be able to do storytelling and have the children doing storytelling back to them because they could create interaction there. So the bottom line is here that that the opportunities, if we get into the situation where we're actually in discussions here with the knowledge bases, this is incredible. Along those lines, a lot of people report, oh, well, but it hallucinates. It makes mistakes. There's a couple of things on that we find. One is, yes, it makes mistakes, but that's getting better and better with the built-in reasoning that we see. For example, ChatGPT o1 and now o3, and we have Gemini with reasoning coming, and they're all adding the reasoning in, which includes fact checking its own answers. So it'll do some answers, fact check them, and check. The other thing, of course, that makes a huge difference, maybe the biggest difference, is the concept of context. If I have a question about maybe how you would do a medical procedure on somebody's liver, and if I walk into the middle of Times Square and I just ask passerbyers to comment on how they would go about doing that kind of medical procedure, I'm probably going to get a lot of very bad answers. And the internet, when we started off with things like ChatGPT, that's what we had. Everybody was sort of saying, hey, we collected all these billions and billions of pieces of information without really qualifying the accuracy. On the one hand is because one person's accuracy may be another person's false fake news, but also because there just was no capacity for validating the various pieces of information. That's exactly what we are working on right now with these idea of these knowledge hubs, that we can go out and say, you know what? This knowledge hub, we're going to curate the information. We're only going to put information into this knowledge hub that we've validated, that we believe is contributes something to the discussion. So if we think of somebody wanting to do a PhD, for example, what do? They have to do a lot of research on a narrow area. They define that area. They collect up as much information as they can. Then they do tests on it. They analyze it. They look at it. They're trying to discover new perspectives on all that information. That's exactly what we're looking to do. And two of the tools that we found particularly interesting that we presented here in the last week and just before the break was Notebook LM. So I think here by now, most of you should be familiar with Notebook LM and the capability. I'm going to just share my screen here for a second. Before I do that, how do all of you feel about the direction that we're talking about here, how we can create knowledge hubs and looking at particular tools that can be useful to us to be able uh, um, to populate these knowledge hubs from research and gather up the research, populate the knowledge hubs, and then be able to do the research on that. Everybody okay with that direction here?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Bill, I would I think what I would value above all else is to be able to practice with you, or even see the things that you're talking about, and then see what I need to do,
Yeah.
and somehow have some practice in doing it.
Okay.
In the abstract, when you tell you what you have done and what you can do, that doesn't really speak to my actual need, which is to actually build knowledge hubs with other people and get them and all of us to build them up themselves. So it's a practical aspect, I think, that for me would be the most interesting. If it doesn't fit for this group, then I can always, talk to you later or something.
Yeah. Well, we can go, Lisinka, we can definitely go later on because for your particular interest area here, there are some tests that I've actually done that I can share with you using some of these tools. But right now, for now, I just want to make sure we're all aware of what we can do with the tools. And I am going to go here. The purpose of today is to demonstrate some things about how these tools work and what we can do with them. So I just here, can all of you see my screen? Should say welcome to Notebook LM.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here is the Notebook LM is free, and up at the top you can just see you go to notebooklm.google.com, and it says welcome to Notebook LM, and it says hey, you can create a new notebook on anything. I'm just going to click on this so you see what you get. And it says, oh, you start off adding sources. You're building a knowledge hub, a knowledge base, so you can add sources. And in the free version, I can put up to 50 documents into this. And those documents can include a Google Docs or Google Slides, but it include any website. I have to qualify that. It can include most websites. If your website homepage has dynamic data on it, those tend not to be able to be opened. But in the majority of the cases, it can open a website and see a website. I can add in any YouTubes, or I can just paste in text that I found that I thought was interesting. Or I can come here and I can choose file and it'll let me upload any file I have. It can be an audio, a PDF, just some text, an MP3 file, pretty much anything. So when I get this out of the way here. Okay, so once I've uploaded some information, I'm going to go to one I've already done. Oh, okay. Well, this is what it looks like once you've created a notebook. Here, I can add more sources. That just takes me back to the page I was on. There's no source here, so I can't do anything. But over here, it lets me take notes, create notes, so that maybe as I'm exploring some of the information that is in that hub, I say, "Oh, wow, here's an idea. And I want to write down some of my conclusions, or maybe I'm talking to somebody else about it and they make some statements and I say, wow, that's really good. So I can add notes. I can also generate study guides, briefing documents, frequently asked questions, all kinds of information. So let's go and take a look at what one might look like here. Here's a case of okay. Okay, just wanted to start this. I'm starting the AI companion here to our Zoom call. Okay, so that should just run on its own here. Okay, so in this particular case here, Lisinka, you'll recognize this.
Yeah.
This is a a case, I just want to try to move this out of the way. Okay, so this is what this looked like, and you can see here I have a whole bunch of sources that have been loaded into this information. It includes an entire book from a gentleman named Koistra, going back a while. Then there's a whole bunch of videos and other pieces of information have been loaded into this. And now I can come over here and I can ask anything of that whole body of knowledge, everything that's in here. And I could have loaded a lot more information into this. But for example, Koistra's book, somewhere's in that book, he mentions sociocratic decision making. So I could put in something like, what is the first page of okay. I just say, what's the first page in this book that mentions the word sociocratic? And it's first mentioned on page 36. Now you notice here how quickly that went. And I asked for just out of a whole bunch of pages, I'm looking for a word. When did that word first appear? So it shows you how quickly it's able to go through all the information. If I had 10 books here, I could have asked the question, what's the first page in each of those books that mentions this word? And it would come back and tell me what that is. Now, the tools like ChatGPT or Claude or these, they can process about 6,000 pages a second. And we're saying, wow, that this is incredible. I think here that Notebook LM, if I'm not mistaken, it's 20 million pages a second. So we're talking a whole different world. That's why we're able to take these huge bases. But I can also take information. By the way, if I click on any of these things here, I get it here. I can actually watch that video. I can get a summary of what it's all about. I can say these are the key topics that were mentioned in that video. I can there's all kinds of information here, and if I was able to scroll down here, I'd be able to see. I can actually see the transcript of that video. I can come in here and go in and dig into the book. And here I've got the book. Just by clicking on it, I can see here what the key topics of the book are, and I can drill into any of those things. It's pretty wild if you're wanting to do research on anything. I can pick any particular here the need for a marketplace, and it'll analyze that, give me a summary of what it's all about. Again, the key topics on it. So I can do anything with the individual topics. I can also, for the other tools that I'm using here, I can actually click in and off of the and say I only want certain sources to be included when I'm doing research. If I want to come in here and I want to ask questions, but I want to limit the answers only to some of the sources, I just can click off the ones I don't want included in that particular survey or search. Okay, so now, what are some of the crazy? Well, before I go into that, I mentioned over here the ability that you can go and ask for a study guide, a briefing doc, a frequently asked questions on it, and so you can get all kinds of information here, and any of the information that you ask for, any of the research that you ask for, say, okay, does anywhere in this body of knowledge do they talk about this, some question, or did they make any suggestions of answers to a particular question? And it will go through all that body of knowledge and find out any references to what you asked about. And now I can turn around and say, wow, that's pretty interesting. You pulled all that out. I can turn around and say, I want to say here, I can save it to a note. That'll bring it over to the right-hand side and add it to the list of notes. But when I go into the notes here, and so I pick a particular note here, and I scroll down, I have the opportunity to go and make any of these things, turn them into sources. So let me see if I can find an example of one that shows that it might be underneath it. Oh, here, see. So I can convert this, which is just a note initially here for whoever is working in this body of knowledge. These are just extra notes. I can go and move that over so it becomes a source. So it will be taken into consideration for further discussion here. Okay, so
Cut and paste it, Bill. Do you cut and paste it from the right-hand side to the left-hand side?
No. It just does it. It just does it. You just say, hey, convert this to a source. It keeps it as a note, but it makes it a source as well. So for all further analysis, if you ask some questions and you said, oh, wow, that's an interesting perspective that wasn't specifically mentioned, it was inferred out of all of the sum of the knowledge, and it now brings that out, and you're saying, oh, that's a perspective that was not in any of the individual pieces of source material. I can save that so it's at a note, so all my colleagues that are collaborating with me can see that. But it also, I can turn it into a source so that it will be taken into consideration in all further summaries here.
And how do you create it from a note to a source? Do you highlight it and then right at the bottom make this into a source?
No, just because I selected here, like Koister's UN supplementary income here, that this was a very brief response that it was done. I was only using this to test this capability. But you see here, I have that capability to convert it to a source. That's all.
Can I ask a quick question, Bill?
Yes, Lloyd.
Just with regard, I've been using Notebook LM actually for probably the last couple of months as well, to do a lot of the work I've been doing. And I find it useful. I don't know all of these things, which is why I want to attend this session. So when you convert a note into a source, does that take up one of the 50 slots you have available?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I just, because that's one of my concerns right now is that I'm going to run out of space, because I've been putting documents into these folders, and I'm thinking, oh no, this is going to last me maybe 6 months.
Okay, I have an answer for you.
What happens after that?
I have an answer for you. They've just recently added a pro version, and with the pro version, you can now have 300 sources.
Ah, okay.
So by the time
it
you
helps,
get 300,
but that might last maybe a couple of years at the rate we're moving.
One of the things that you can do is you come back in here in your dialogue that you have with the knowledge base. And then you can say, ask questions like, are any of the particular sources redundant? In other words, they don't contribute any new information. You can also go in and identify sources that contradict the main thrust of the discussion. So you can identify where there's disagreements, and you might say, okay, that it's going to point me and tell me, look into that particular source in more detail. And you may conclude, well, that source is contributing incorrect information. And therefore,
what I have been actually using it for are meeting notes. So we have a Zoom call just like this.
Yep.
The AI system from Zoom records everything. I actually put all of that, including screenshots and other things, and my own personal notes, into a single document, a PDF, convert it to a PDF, like put it into a document, and then I upload it to Notebook LM. That gives me a history of everything we've talked about for every weekly meeting we have.
Yeah.
And I can ask it, I can query, I can give summaries to every other participant on the call after every meeting. And it only takes a couple minutes.
I can give you maybe a shortcut that could save you some time.
Uh-huh.
And that is, I upload most of our Zoom meetings to YouTube. You can then make a notebook, open or just put the link in. I'll just show that here briefly. I come in here and I say, oh, I want to add something. And I just say, I want to add a YouTube. You just paste the YouTube URL into here. Usually it has to wait at least 3 days after you upload a video has been uploaded for the transcripts to be available, and it will automatically now import. Now I can turn around and I can come over here and say, you know what, give me the briefing doc of the entire content of that YouTube video.
Uh-huh.
So
will it work? Will it work for a YouTube collection of videos?
Oh, yes, it will do that too.
So that would be even better. Then it would just take one slot.
No, I'll take that back. No, when you put a collection in, the collection is going to make a source entry for each of the YouTubes that you're referring to.
So if there's 10 videos in a collection, it'll be 10.
Correct.
Okay.
But one of the things here that's very interesting that I've seen some people do is they'll come in here and have something like this where they have a whole bunch of knowledge information, but they're wanting to research that knowledge information from a particular perspective. So then they do the briefing documentations, and the briefing documentations can be very, very intensive. Let me see if I can find the.
I actually haven't tried the briefing doc button.
Okay.
I've been actually
quick. So I'm
doing
going to take
custom queries.
Yeah.
Tell me this
Exactly.
about what just was
Oh,
talked
you've
about.
got it. You've got to take a look at these, even though we already have them. I'll just create a new one for a second because they go quickly. So this is generating a new note, for example, right now, as a briefing doc on these 11 sources that are in this in this pile. So we'll let that generate for a little while, and I'm also going to kick off these other two, so it'll generate those so you can see those while we're talking. So then they'll take it when these new notes. So let's see, what is the main goal? Okay, so here this was a study guide. So let's take a look at what a study guide does. It gives you a quiz, and it says, okay, here, what these are. This quiz is based on the content, the sum content of all of this information. What's the central principle of sociocratic decision making? How does the concept of an extra UN economy aim to address the issue of unequal access to resources? How does the author address the idea that men are to blame for the world's problems? Interesting. But I mean, that's in there in the material. How does the system encourage both material and spiritual development? And then it comes out and says, hey, these are the answers. You should try the answers, but then you can check your answers against these answers based on what's in the materials. And then it comes up and gives you some essay questions that you can do, and then gives you a glossary of all of the key terms that are in the sum of all those materials. So
I haven't seen that before. That would be very useful because we use a lot of acronyms.
Right. So there's one thing here. That's an example. That was a study guide. Okay, so this looks like it's a frequently asked questions. So what's the main goal and how does it aim to achieve it? It's building a global community founded on the principles of university and diversity. What is this sociocratic decision making? How does it foster unity? How does the C plan support personal growth? How is it linked to global citizenship? What is the purpose of the global marketplace within this, and so forth. So this would be an example of a frequently asked question. And then this is the detailed briefing document. So this is what you get when you ask for a briefing document. And it comes up and gives you analysis and goes into source one. This is what the main themes were of the first source. Then it comes into key quotes. It gives you key quotes. And you can see it really breaks down and gives you a really good summary of what's going on. Then it goes into the second source, and it goes through here the key elements of the plan, the key quotes out of that, comparison and synthesis between the different sources in there. So this is now, here's another case where I might say, oh, that looks really good. I want to save this to a source. Or you can click and export this. And what a lot of people do is they take these notes here that have synthesized and summarized all this information. It takes it out, and then they make a new notebook and use the summary out of the broader one to narrow their focus, because they say, oh, okay, but I'm trying to research in a particular direction. So they'll go in and they might generate several of these from different perspectives, or this can lead them to having specific questions that they do in the dialogue. Now, one of my personal gripes right now on this is, imagine here that down here I'm able to go and ask any questions out of all these 11 sources. Imagine if I can just be talking to it, just like we're talking right now. And I can just ask, well, what about this? And what about that? And it talks back to me, but records the transcript, obviously. Now, they actually say, oh, no, don't worry about it. We're doing that. And the way they look to do that is with this conversational or podcast mode. And many of you have maybe seen this, because this is one of the primary things that people show when they show this. I'm just going to play a couple of minutes.
Welcome to another deep dive.
Actually, let me not do it there.
I've used that before a few times, and I remember I accidentally clicked it once, and there's no way to cancel once it starts, and it actually takes a long time sometimes.
Up here, you can, the way I was just playing it before, but that's just to play the whole thing. You can stop that. You can stop that, and I'll show you in a minute here how you can manipulate that as well. Okay, now I have the capability here. I'm going to play it from down here.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling Peter Koistra and his world plan for all people.
It's really ambitious.
Yeah, this isn't just like tweaking the system a little. It's like reimagining everything.
Exactly. He's really trying to transform the way humans think and act.
Okay, so we've got his writings and some expert opinions and even a presentation outline.
I'm going to click on this join
like he's not
button.
just talking about this. He's trying to lay out a
Oh, hey there. What's up?
Yes, I have a question here. Are you going to discuss the sociocratic decision making?
Absolutely. That's a huge part of Koistra's plan. We're definitely going to get into it.
Yes, it's fundamental to how he envisions this new global system operating.
It's not just a side note or a little detail. It's like the core decision-making process.
Exactly. It's how he plans to ensure that everyone has a voice and is heard.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's get into it. But first, to set the stage a bit more, Koistra is arguing that our current systems, the focus on profit.
Okay, so that gives you a little bit of a sense here of what is possible on that. We have the ability here, in addition to going in and asking questions and getting answers, I can just create my own note. I can just say, oh, I've been listening to this. I have this thought came out of this, and I just want to record that, so I can come in here and I can add a note of my own to that. And if I think it's worthy of it later on, I can do more. Okay, let me just save. Okay.
Could I ask what was your personal gripe you were mentioning earlier?
Yeah, I gotta the fact is that in the chat, I don't have voice chat. when I'm in this center part here, and where it says start typing, I can type my questions, but I cannot I cannot talk. Now I can because my keyboard has the capability for me to dictate text. So I can dictate the text in and then I can click on the go button. But no, I don't want that. I want the ability to just be able to talk back and forth with it, and have it and have it respond to me verbally with a written record of it. But I just want to be able to go quick back and forth. Wait a minute, what do you think about this? Why did you say that? And just like as if I'm talking to a person, I'm actually I want to talk to the entire knowledge base of all these sources, which is not going into Times Square and just asking any passerby. These are all curated sources, so they're all sources that I say have value. And so the better job I do of collecting that information, obviously, the more that that it's going to have the pieces of information I'm seeking. But I want to be able to just have that talk to as if I got all the world's experts on a subject on a panel in a room, and I'm able to go and ask them all kinds of questions. That's what I want to be able to do. It's coming. I guarantee
This is the first time I've seen the interactive mode on the audio side. So this is obviously a recent evolution.
It
How
is.
recently is this?
But be careful. There's also a problem with that. And the problem with that is that, yes, I can come in here and literally, if it says anything they say about literally any of those sources, not just what's in the podcast, if I ask, well, how come maybe I watched the podcast almost to the end, and then I can ask the question, well, you didn't mention this. Why didn't you mention that? And it may come out and talk about, oh, well, because it wasn't emphasized as much in the sources or whatever the reasons are. Or it might come out and say, well, it was controversial in the sources. So I can do exactly what I want to do. I can do that in the by querying those hosts, having a discussion with those hosts, but it doesn't give me a transcript. In other words, the questions I asked and the additional information is lost, because when I go back later on and I replay the recording, it's only the original recording still. So there are talks apparently underway to make that. That's I'm not the only one that is not happy with that.
Yeah, I'm sure that people are saying, look, wait, there's no record of my conversation, right?
Exactly. Right? So I just saved that for a particular reason. I want to come in here and I want to be able to delete that conversation. I just downloaded it and I saved it. But here, there's a very important button here. When I click, this is what I would get if I had not created a conversation yet. I have two buttons. One's called Customize. And here in the customization, I can say, hey, I want these two people to have the conversation. I only want them to talk about certain aspects of the knowledge base. I don't want them to talk about everything. I want them to focus on just talking about the decision-making process, or only talk about the universal basic income aspect, so I can focus on specific sources. So, for example, I could say focus on a specific source. For example, cover only the Renaissance chapter in the history article. Okay, and they'll have their discussion, but they'll limit it to just that. Or I can say focus on a specific topics, talk about the key capabilities and limitations of diffusion models, for example. Or I can target a specific audience. I can say, I want you to discuss this in order to explain it to somebody who's new to whatever that subject, who has no idea what you're talking about. I want you to have your discussion in a way that's going to help bring them along. Okay, so or I can do it the other way around, and I can say target PhD candidates that have already mastered certain aspects of this. So you can skip those parts they've already mastered and focus on the parts they have not yet mastered. So this is extremely important, because here you're giving context to the discussion. Now, how long are these podcasts then? They can be, the shortest one I've seen was about 8 minutes. The longest one I've seen was about 32 minutes. So they can actually vary. And the interesting thing about it is if you delete it and regenerate, you can regenerate this and they'll come up sometimes a little bit different. So, but in the customization notes, by the way, I recommend you always cut and paste them and store them somewhere else because you can't go back and see what the customization notes were to a previous query. Ian, you've been
That's
very
not
patient
good.
out there. You had your hand
Yeah,
up.
I've written a book on the future of food. Sorry, I've lost my screen there for a minute. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I've pasted the location of it. I've done a Kindle version, but what I want to do is an audio version.
Yes.
And I'm currently recording the stuff at the moment. I've got 3 versions of my own voice so that I have 3 people in the thing. I'm just wondering, is there any faster way of doing that? Because I have all the text, and if I could clone my voice and just produce the files that little bit quicker, it would be easier, rather than recording everything.
Yeah.
I'm only managing about 4 chapters a day, and I have about 16 more, well, 12 more to do, I think. So,
Yeah. There's a couple of things you can do. One is if you just want to have a audio version of the book, that you can use something like 11 Labs, is another product.
yeah, I've done that, but I can't use their ones because Amazon says that I'm not allowed to use voice, text to voice. But if it's my own voice, then I could probably get away with that and say I'm throwing a few actual recordings in the center so that it looks random enough to fool any tests that they might have for it.
You've already generated a couple of chapters. So what you can do in 11 Labs is you just take and upload the couple of chapters that you've already recorded, and it will create a your voice. So
Okay.
then you can just say continue using my voice on it, and it will record it in your voice. And there's a new feature there that lets you add emotion into your discussion, if you would, into the presentation. So
Yeah.
If it has the feeling that that passage in the book is somebody is going, oh well, yeah, that's amazing. It will put that kind of emotion into it.
Okay.
So it's almost like an audio play, if you would, rather than just narrating a book. And it's done deliberately. They claim no AI checkers can identify
Okay.
what's going on with
Okay.
that.
So I just changed just take my 3 voices and replace them with the ones I originally had in there in 11 Labs, and that should do it.
Yeah,
Because I did do a full recording with it in 11 Labs. So yeah, I'll just
keep in
clone
mind,
those voices.
11 Labs has added, for example, the podcast that you just heard. We can do the same thing in 11 Labs, but here's the rub. Right now, I have the ability to generate, and it generates it. Now, but I don't get, I did not give it a transcript. I did not say, this is what I want you to say. In the customization, I can say, hey, I want you to only include the content of the third source. And it will do that somewhat, but it also pulls from its general model where it's collected all the information in the world, and
Okay.
it will add in what it thinks are related bits of information. So it may reference a study that you didn't have in the sources here, but it will reference that. Now, that's something it's not supposed to do, actually, according to the specs for Notebook LM, but in the conversational audio, it will do that kind of thing. So what you can do is you can take the podcast that gets generated. When you load that into a new notebook, it actually gives you the transcript. If you remember, if I come over here and I click on any of these things, it gives me the transcript. So I can actually get the actual transcript of that podcast. Then I can turn around and I can take that over to 11 Labs, and I upload that into 11 Labs, and I have the transcript. it allows me
Yeah, no, that's fine. I've done that part. Basically, what I've done is create a dialogue about this between two speakers, and it just gives me that anyway. So I'm
Right.
fine. I have all that done. It's
No, but
it's
what
in
I
the
was trying to refer to is for others here on the call that they
yeah,
can
yeah.
that when they do that, they can
Mm,
edit. They can edit the
right,
text. So then it will speak exactly what you want. So if you
right.
ended up here with the deep dive conversation in Notebook LM,
Mm,
maybe tossing in some information that's not relevant to what you were trying to
possibly
achieve.
wrong.
Yeah, that you can actually go over 11 Labs and edit that. You can also use a
Right.
product called Descript that does the same thing.
Yeah.
11 Labs voices are, though, perhaps a little bit more accurate, if you would,
Mm.
and with this new ability to toss emotion and things like that in. Now, I want to show one other thing here.
Bill, before you do, you were talking about customization. And I'm looking at your screen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when I want to customize something, what do I do? Is there any not something I click on or?
Yes. Can you see?
Ah, yeah, I see it there. Customize.
Yeah,
It's above the nose.
yeah, and exactly. And then here you see I can type into here my custom instructions, if you would. Those are
Hmm,
my instructions to how it should limit or the context that it should use for the podcast it's going to generate.
thanks.
Okay. Now, here's something here that I had not been aware of. I'm going to come to the middle section here.
Can you ask it if it can use a more excited voice than it's used before?
That's one of the reasons to go over to 11 Labs here. I have asked it. I did go and I asked it to say, um, uh, I want you to be convincing because you can specify your audience, and I can say, okay, this is the audience, and I want you to really pump them up and get them all excited about the key takeaways. And it. It spoke a little louder in a couple of cases and maybe a little faster, but I didn't really get the impression that it was like somebody on a stage in a big auditorium firing people up and say, "I can't hear you, come on, louder," type of thing. It didn't do that for me. But I think there are other tools like 11 Labs. I think you can do things like that.
Could you show us 11 Labs? I haven't seen that one before. Where's that?
Okay. Yes. Give me a second here because I want to show you another feature here. I'm down in the start typing in the bottom of the middle here where I can ask for things and say, make me a 8-page presentation deck. Uh, an eight, not page, slide presentation deck describing the key aspects of the Koistra plan with speaker's notes for each slide. Okay, make me an 8-slide presentation. Make me an 8-slide presentation deck describing the key aspects of the Koistra plan with speaker's notes for each slide. So, in other words, now I can come in here to this knowledge base and I can actually ask it to do things. Hopefully, okay, there we go. It just did it. So here's the 8 page. Here's slide 1, the title, the subtitle, Koistra's plan, a new vision for humanity, transforming self-interest into community well-being. And then it says the kind of an image at once. Then it gives you the speaker's notes. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Today I'll introduce blah, blah, blah. Slide 2. How is that?
Wonderful.
That's awesome because that I'm just thinking in terms of presentations. that we need to be making, and this is perfect.
Okay, now here's where
it doesn't come up with the images. That's the only thing.
Oh, wait a minute.
Where?
This gets wild because you can now take this this result and see down here. I can just click on this thing and it will copy that answer. And I can take this over into Copilot or into a product called Gamma. And Gamma will creates presentations. And it gives you three choices. You can just go in there and type in a little text and say, make me an 8-page presentation talking about how the solar system works, whatever, you know. Or you can go and say, hey, I have what I want for the presentation, and I can upload exactly this. I copy it into that section, and bang, in a couple of seconds, it will generate all the slides to whatever particular theme you want with background images and everything else for the entire presentation. And then you can literally go through and you can edit any part. You can edit any of the text. You can go and say, no, I don't like that image. Show me some other alternatives. It will show you alternative images that you might be able to put in there, including styles. So it could be a collage of a whole bunch of
images. Can you upload your own source images and say, use these?
You can, I'm sure you can. I've not tested it to be able to answer that, but I'm pretty sure you can, that you would be able to do that. And now here we can go the next step and we can take that, because I don't know if that tool will let you turn that into a narrated video. That, in other words, that it will show you all the slides in sequence and do a voiceover narration of all the speaker's notes. But you can take that and bring it back into PowerPoint, for example, and you can generate a video of that content and record it as an MP4. So, you know, your thoughts. I mean, just in general here, the ability now to collect information on any subject. You want to know quantum physics. You're taking it. You're on a course in a master's degree program, and on quantum physics. You can take the textbook. You can take if the teacher or the professor has given his lecture notes. You can take those. You can take your cell phone and put it on record and go into the lecture, record the lecture. You can dump that in here, and it will summarize the total sum of knowledge on that subject area. And generate for you a study guide, how to study it. And by the way, you can come down here in the middle in this individual part and say, well, the study guide is great, but can you break this down into all the individual concepts that are within the body of knowledge, so that I have a dependency. I need to know A in order to understand B, and I need to understand B in order to understand C. Break it down into all the individual learning units and create for me basically a study guide for each of the learning units. So it's pretty amazing what we can do here. So at any rate, so this is our knowledge base. This is the concept.
Could I ask it to give me a booklet on how to work with my MacBook Air?
Yes, but that's not where I would do that. I'm going to show you something in a minute I think would be more appropriate for that.
Oh, because I need to do that. It's amazing. It doesn't exist, apparently. So that would be
what I've been liking about the Notebook LM as I use it for creating summary of events or meetings, is being able to put in everything, just stuff everything into a single PDF to upload into as a record of the meeting, into just this one file, but then to ask it, give me your suggestions on next steps.
Mm-hmm.
and action items.
Wow.
And it just basically tells you, here's my suggestions for what to do next, for all the follow-up activities that need to be done, everything that needs to be put into the agenda for the next meeting.
Wow. That
Yeah.
would be wonderful because you do make make notes of our meetings, don't you?
Yeah,
And you
I try. This is why I write everything as much as I can. So I like all this stuff like I'm putting in the chat right now. I save that chat. That just goes that gets stuffed into a Word document that converts to a PDF. And that's my records for the meeting. And then like I said, I can just use that to produce a summary of what was talked about.
Next steps,
And
Lloyd.
ask it, yep. Tell me sort of what are the key messages, and what do you suggest is the next steps that should be taken as we move forward?
You could add that to any notes you make. That would be great. We missed you at the last meeting, but yeah, that would be great.
Okay. What I'd like to do at this stage is let me close some screens here because I'm getting a warning message that I've got too much going on here. So I think if I kill this particular screen here, it'll free up some space on my machine. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Okay, so your assessment here, some of you haven't said anything. Was that useful going into the depth there on how we can use Notebook LM?
Yes, I find it very useful. Very many new things for me here.
Okay, great. Now, just so you're aware, there is another tool called Perplexity, also free. And there is, it's primarily a search engine, but it's not like Google search. It is a search engine that will go and really do an in-depth search on a topic that you pick. But it gives you the answer. It will summarize what it found and going into that. But there's the thing that makes it similar to Notebook LM is a thing called spaces, Perplexity spaces. So I can define a thing called space, and now I can do research, and I can do follow-up research and pull together sources from those from these searches. And so one of the things we said, okay, Notebook LM is great, but you know what? I need to have the sources. And if I can have up to 300 sources, wow, how long is it going to take me to go out there, find 300 websites, and then have to load them in one by one into Notebook LM so that I can do an analysis on them? So with Perplexity Spaces, I can do a lot of the similar type of things, but it's not as strong as Notebook LM on a lot of the analysis or the ability to go into the in depth and say I want to have a conversation, for example, with a YouTube video, right? Type of thing. So it's a little weaker in that regard. So let me just. So now we can we're going so Perplexity Spaces and there's a thing in Google I'm about to show you called Deep Research where you can go in and it will literally search huge numbers of sources to find the relevant sources for whatever the topic is that you want to study. The thing that's very interesting about Google, let me see if I can share my screen again. I'll show you the beginning of a video here.
Ian, was your hand up for a new question or just legacy?
Sorry, I forgot to put it back down. I'll yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to find, I thought I had. I thought I had saved. Oh, by the way, this is this site. Unfortunately, right now my memory is used up here. I can't do this. I talked about this ability, this thing. Once we go out there and we find the 50 sources or the 100 sources or the 250 sources that we want to add, whether they're a combination of YouTube videos, of articles, of websites, all these different things. You can take that from Perplexity, save them as HTML, and then export to text. And now you can use this Chrome extension here. And with one button click, it will load all 50 or 250 sources into your notebook. So just imagine here, I've gone out now, and first I went to Chrome, or pardon me, first I went to ChatGPT, or I went to Claude, and I said, I want to do research on this subject area. Please make me a prompt that is going to cause Perplexity or deep research to research the internet internet and find all of the best sources related to this topic. And it will generate for you a prompt that you then cut and paste over into Perplexity or into deep research. And it will then go and it will do the research for you. And then you export all of the sources that it found into that text file, and then use this tool to import them in bulk into Notebook LM. So let's say I'm trying to study quantum physics at a master's degree level. And so I go out there and I say that, generate a prompt for me to gather up all the best sources in the world, the top 250 sources or 300, 299 sources, whatever, in the world on quantum physics at a master's degree level. And I want you to, so it goes and finds them. And then with one mouse click, you're able to import all of that into a notebook. And now you can say, give me a study guide based on the 300 best sources of information on quantum physics in the world. And give me a summary. And you can say, give me a summary that I can process in 10 minutes that tell me all the most important things to know about quantum physics, what's going on in quantum physics. Or I can direct it to say, give me a 20-minute summary of the most important things to know about a particular aspect of quantum physics, maybe of discoveries of the last 3 months. Can you see how powerful this thing can be? Okay, but for right now, I'm going to kill this. Oh, I wasn't sharing my screen, so you guys didn't see that. Okay, so let me. Okay, so let's see, close the education gap, perplexity. Um, by, okay, so this is an example here of perplexity, and here's where I can come over and define spaces, library that I can come in and look at previous queries that I've asked. What's the beginning? I had a person wanted to know about ChatGPT, so I was able to go and find what's the best beginner video. Tell me about the WebSync full site importer. And then when I find the detail, I can click into it. It tells me the sources that it found. It gives me the answers. It tells me what the features and functionality is, how it's integrated with Notebook LM, what the use cases are, technical details. And I can come over and I can look for videos. In this case, it didn't find videos on that. So here it's showing me all the different sources that it found on this. And this is where I can come in to these 18 sources now, and I can export these sources and then load those sources into Notebook LM if I want to do a deep dive into what's going on here with using these tools. Okay. So in Discover, I can just see what other people are doing researches on, and so this is basically just pulling from the news. I can say, oh, I want to limit it to tech and science.
Question, Peter.
So one other thing here that's also important on this is that you can declare a focus. You can say, okay, I want you to do a search, but I only want you to focus on academic peer-reviewed papers, or I only want you to focus on pulling information from a particular region. So you can declare the focus. And when you define in spaces, you go into spaces, and here I can create a space, for example, just like this. I did a future of tours, prompt engineering, Clayton Christensen. I wanted to know some information about him. Creating perplexity learning hubs, which you can do as well. And here I can create a thread, but here I can create custom instructions. And my custom instructions can get into how, let me see, click on edit here. So I can come in here to custom instructions. I want to create a personalized learning hub. The goal is to gather and organize practical resources, tutorials, summaries, videos, websites, etc. I tell it here, define the scope, define the collection that I want to do, organize the learning pathways of how to learn the material, emphasize practicality, use examples and case studies here in doing this, provide learning enhancements, create a list of reliable websites, and develop a product out of all this and make it shareable. And I can say even what AI model do I want to use? I can use ChatGPT 4.0. I can use Claude 3.5. I can use O1 from ChatGPT here as the base on that. So it's pretty amazing. Now, where did I get those custom instructions? Well, I went to ChatGPT and I said, make me a set of custom instructions to use in perplexity spaces that's going to enable me to gather up certain kind of information relative to the subject that I want to do. So I can specify certain files. I can say, hey, I want to give you a starter. I can create a file that has starter information about the information I'm looking for. And I can load that in here and it will use that. I can say, hey, that's the outline that I want you to use for building the knowledge that I'm looking for. Any questions here on what we can do? Can you see the potential here with perplexity as well on this? And over here,
You can go from, you can go use ChatGPT to do your query on Perplexity, feed the stuff from Perplexity into Notebook LM, and then generate what you like from there.
Yes. Now you could do probably about 80% of what you could do in Notebook LM. You can actually do in Perplexity. It will summarize information for you in that regard. And here you can invite people to collaborate with you on the space. So multiple people can go in there and build up the knowledge base, if you would, here on your space.
Can you get Notebook LM to, when it does a dialogue, you do the speech dialogue between two people?
Yes.
Can you get it? Can the written version of that be pulled straight into things like 11 Labs?
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I was suggesting. You take the audio file it creates. Now, unfortunately, it only creates .wav files. So you have to download the .wav file, put it into a converter like Audible or something like that, which are free, and convert it to an MP3.
Okay.
And so now you've got the MP3. Now take that MP3 and load that back into a new notebook, LM.
Okay.
And that will give you the transcript of it. You can actually get the transcript out of Audible as well. You could probably just say, give it to me, the transcript there as well. But either way, and then that'll give you the text transcript, and then you can turn around and load that into 11 Labs.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Let me
what
see.
voices you want for each particular bit. Yeah.
Let me see here if this. So there's a thing called pages here as well, by the way. So what I'm able to do, so here's the space that I created, Perplexity Learning Hub, and I had it find the best practical resources, tutorials, summaries, blah, 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 blah. How can I print a Perplexity page? Okay, so what I can do in the pages, I come over here and it will create for me any kind of a report. I can say, okay, take all that knowledge that's in the Perplexity space related to something. Let me switch to a different space. Let's see. Future jobs, maybe.
I wish you'd dive into the peacemaking aspect instead of some of this craziness.
Are there any limitations on the number of spaces can be created in Perplexity?
Not that I'm aware of, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere in that same neighborhood of the 50. So I'm trying to see where there's a page. So again, here we can go into sources. I can attach things to it. I need to go back to the one I was looking at, I guess, because that one has where did it go? I had pages there, and I don't see the. Oh, no, that's the wrong space. Yeah, here. So here's the pages, and so I asked it to go and do a learning hub. Okay, so here you can see this is what it generated. It generated this Spaces learning guide and the features overview of using Perplexity for that, using Spaces to create a collaborative knowledge hub. It created this. I did the question search, and it created this report with all these diagrams and everything else. It generated all that. So, and then I can come into this thing called edit pages, and I can edit anything I want about any of the information that's in here. It creates chapters, and it creates an image for every chapter. How to do the file searches. How do you integrate it with YouTube video integration? Keeping your context current. I just created a Spaces, and I asked it, please go out and tell me what I can do. Making a learning hub using Perplexity Spaces for a learning hub.
So it sounds like this could be used actually to generate the images for a presentation.
It could, but there are the tools. Literally, you can, PowerPoint will do it for you as well. If you just take that information that we generated from my request in Notebook LM, it will go and if you just load that in or save it as a Word document. If you open a Word document in PowerPoint now, it's with Copilot, it will turn it into a PowerPoint presentation. It'll turn the PDF or whatever you have in a Word document. It will make what it believes is the best presentation of the content of whatever that Word document is, including generating images to go with it. And then, of course, you can swap the images out if you need.
What was that again? I didn't quite grok that.
Okay, if you have any document and you save it as a Microsoft Word document, and then you go into PowerPoint with Copilot, which is now free, as my understanding is PowerPoint's now free for everybody. I don't get to see, I'm a pro user, so I don't necessarily get to see the difference on the free version, but I was just reading that they've made Copilot free for everybody. And you're in Copilot and you can tell it, load this Word document into PowerPoint, and it just will automatically generate a PowerPoint presentation of all the content that's in your Word document.
Wow. Beautiful.
Okay. So we've talked about Perplexity. We've talked about Notebook LM. And I'm going to stop sharing this for a second. And let me just do it here. Okay, I am now, okay, let me get back to share my screen. Okay, this is now, I'm in Gemini 2.0, Google Gemini 2.0. And this is pretty wild. I'm going to try. Okay, that's good. I think you can now see the various materials here. Okay, so here we can come over and select a model, and it gives pricing for different pieces. I'm a pro user, so I get it. But what I want to show here was we have a number of people on the call. Some of these things like Perplexity was new to you maybe, or Notebook LM. And I want to know how to use it, what I can do with this. And so I'm going to click on this thing called Stream Real Time over here. And it gives me the opportunity. I can just talk to Gemini. Let me just do that. Hello, Gemini. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How can I help?
Okay. Well, I want to end this. I want to be able to show my screen. Just 1 second, please.
No problem. Take your time.
Okay, so I'm going to start a new stream. This time I'm going to say share my screen. And let's see.
Okay, it sounds like you're thinking about what to say next. Is there anything specific you'd like to discuss or explore?
Yes. Let me just pick a screen to share.
All right. It sounds like you're preparing to share your screen.
Yes. Can you
Just
see?
let me know when you're.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your
Not
screen
over
now.
here.
Looks like you're showing a slide from a presentation about the percentage of students at grade level.
Yes. Did you see it just changed?
Yes, I saw the slide change. It now shows a comparison of what was considered reasonable versus the actual reality for the percentage of students at grade level in the bottom 10% of schools.
If I wanted to create a new presentation, how would I go about doing that?
Okay, you're asking how to create a new presentation. Are you referring to creating a new presentation in PowerPoint, like the one you are currently showing? Or are you asking about a different tool?
Actually here, I'd like to create a new notebook in Notebook LM. So maybe you can explain that. If I change my screen, hold on, I'm going to just stop sharing this. And I want to switch over to.
Unfortunately, we can't see what you're actually doing over here, Bill.
Oh, hold on a minute. Let me start a new stream here and see if I can get this back.
Okay, I'm
Okay.
ready for your question.
Okay, right now, okay. Can everybody see? I have a Notebook LM screen up there again.
We see Google
Yes,
AI
I can see
Studio.
the Notebook LM screen. Is there anything specific you would like me to focus on?
What are the key features here? On the right-hand side, do you see where it says study guide?
Okay, I want to know the key features on the right-hand side of the screen, and you're referring specifically to the study guide feature?
Yeah, hold on just one second. Yes, okay, the people on the Zoom call, are you able to hear the dialogue I'm having?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I understand. You're asking if the other participants on the Zoom call can hear the conversation we are having. Is that correct?
Yes, and they can. So now let's go back to the interpreting what can I do in Notebook LM here. And I see at the top, there's a link that's called Analytics. What does Analytics do?
Okay, so now you want to know what the analytics feature in Notebook LM does, is that correct?
Correct.
I understand. I do not have access to the internet or any other way to access current information about the functions of Notebook LM, so I cannot answer what the analytics feature does. However, you can try clicking on it yourself and see how it works.
Okay. Well, there's no analytics yet in what I'm doing.
Steam
How would I
limitations
share?
already, huh?
If I wanted to share,
looks like the analytics feature needs more use. Okay, you're starting to say that you wanted to. What is it that you wanted to do?
I want to know how to share this notebook with other users.
Okay, you want to know how to share this notebook with other users. On the top right of the screen, you can see a share button. Does that help?
Yes, is that all I need to know?
Okay, you need to know something about the share feature. What would you like to know about it?
Can I share this with anyone?
You want to know if you can share this notebook with anyone. I do not have access to information about Notebook LM
Oh, okay,
sharing
wait,
features, so I cannot answer.
that's okay then. Let's go down here. There's this thing called a deep dive conversation, and there's a customize button there. Do you have any idea what that might be for?
Okay, so you see a customize button and are wondering what it might be for. I do not have access to the internet or any other way to access.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I want to stop share. I'm going to take a different approach to this.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
Okay, now let me just make sure that I've ended that conversation with him.
That was fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that can be kind of annoying, can't it?
So here's the thing. What I'm going to do in this is because it depends what I'm, obviously the software you're asking about. So what I'm going to do on this instead, I'm going to just share a short video with you that where they were able to accomplish certain things, and I think this will help more. Okay, so I'm going to start this video.
Amazing. If you can have an expert sitting next to you anytime you want to learn some new software, someone you can ask questions, get instant answers, and simply learn by doing. Well, now you can. And the best part, it doesn't cost anything. Basically, you don't need me anymore. Although I like to think that good thing going. Let's sign in. To get started, head to the Google AI Studio website and then sign in with your Google account. If you've never heard of Google AI Studio before, it's primarily designed as a development platform where you can create, train, and deploy custom AI solutions that use Google AI technologies. Now, you might be thinking, you don't do that, but as a user, you can still experiment with the tech, and that's what we're going to do. Feel free to follow along. Once you finish signing in, you'll land here in the main interface. Over on the left-hand side navigation, let's click the option that says Stream Real Time. So what is Stream Real Time? Well, over here, it tells us that you can start interacting in real time using text, voice, video, or screen sharing. But what does that mean? It basically means that you can show the AI what you're working on, and you'll get instant feedback from the AI. This is especially helpful if you're trying to learn new software, or you really want that interactive feedback. Down at the very bottom, we can click on this icon so the AI can hear your microphone. I'll click on this, and then we have to allow it in the browser. Click here. The AI can now hear me. Down below, we can also turn it on so the AI can see what we're working on. When I click on this, you can share your camera or your screen. In this case, I want to share my screen, so I'll click on this option. Then I'll get a prompt where I can select what I would like to share with the AI. Top right-hand corner, I'll click on my entire screen, and here, let me select screen number 2, and then click on share. Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. I need some help with different apps today. Do you think you could do that?
I try my best to help you with different apps. What do you need help with specifically?
I'm in Microsoft Excel now. Can you see my spreadsheet?
Yes, I can see your spreadsheet. Looks like it has columns for date, unit sold, product, and location. What do you need help with in Excel?
Yeah, so I have the product and location in one column, but I would prefer to have 2 separate columns. How do I do that?
Okay, you want to separate the product and location data into 2 different columns. To do this, you can use the text to columns feature in Excel. First, select the column that contains both the product and location data, which is column C. Then, go to the Data tab on the ribbon and find Text to Columns. In the wizard, you'll select Delimited since there's a comma that separates.
Oh, am I in the right place right now?
Yes, you're in the right place.
Okay,
Text to Columns wizard.
Okay, so I have delimited selected, then what?
Okay, with delimited selected, you can now click Next in the Text to Columns wizard.
Okay. And then what do I want to use as the delimiter?
The delimiter in this case is a comma and a space. Select the other checkbox, type a comma, then a space in the box, then click Next.
Okay, so I've selected comma, I'll select Next.
Okay, now you can click Next.
Okay, I'm going to click on Finish.
All right, click on Finish.
Oh, and it looks like I now have a new column with the location. Perfect.
Great. You have successfully separated the product and location into 2 different columns using the Text to Columns feature. Is there anything else I can assist you with in Excel?
Yeah, I'd like to see the units sold by location. How do I do that?
Use a pivot table to see the units sold by location. First, select all of your data, including headers. Then go to the Insert tab on the ribbon and click on Pivot Table. The window that appears, click OK to create a pivot table on a new sheet. Then in the pivot table builder on the right.
Okay, so I have my new sheet, I have my pivot table. What do I do here?
Okay, now in the pivot table fields pane, you should drag location to the rows area and units sold to the values area. This will show you the total units sold for each location in your pivot table.
Nice. And what would I use columns for? What's that for?
Columns area is used to break down the data further. For example, if you drag the product field to the columns area, you'll see a breakdown of how many units of each product were sold in each location. This is useful for comparing how different products perform across different locations.
Any interesting insights here or anything that I should call out to my manager?
Looking at your pivot table, it seems that oatmeal raisin is your top selling product with 23,282 units sold overall, while snickerdoodle is your lowest seller at 18,452 units. Also,
actually, just a quick point here. It looks like chocolate chip is actually more. Are you sure that oatmeal raisin is the best?
You are absolutely correct. My apologies. Chocolate chip is actually the top seller with 23,614 units sold, followed by oatmeal raisin with 23,282. Snickerdoodle is still the lowest seller at 18.
Okay, I don't know.
1,452. Is there anything else you'd like to explore in the pivot table?
I love Monday.com.
What's Monday.com?
Okay, you get a free commercial here. Unfortunately,
the platform that helps us run our work.
Oh, okay, good then.
Let's now look at how AI Studio can help us in another application, DaVinci Resolve. If you've never heard of this before, it's free video editing software that I personally use to edit all the videos on my channel. If you want an in-depth tutorial, check out the video down below in the description. I have this clip on my timeline, and I want to zoom in on this clip from the very beginning right up until the end of my clip. How do I go about doing that?
Okay, you want to zoom in on a clip in DaVinci Resolve. Starting from the beginning and continuing to the end of the clip can help with that. First, select the clip on your timeline. Then go to the inspector panel. The inspector panel.
Oh, hold on a second. Where's the inspector panel?
Okay, you're looking for the inspector panel in DaVinci Resolve. It's located on the upper right side of the screen. The media pool and mixer panels.
Got it. I see inspector. Yep, I clicked on it. Okay, so how do I slowly zoom in on this clip?
Now that you've selected the clip and opened the inspector panel, look for the transform section where you'll see a zoom parameter. You can animate it by creating keyframes. See that zoom setting?
I see the zoom setting. So I'm at the beginning of the clip. What do I do with the zoom setting?
If you play ahead at the beginning of the clip, click the diamond-shaped keyframe icon next to the zoom parameter. This will set the starting zoom level. What zoom level would you like for the beginning of the
Okay. Let me see here if I can.
Something like that would not help me at all, Bill. It goes much too fast and much too.
You can slow it down, and this is
Start with 1, just standard zoom.
Okay, so the zoom is set to 1 at the beginning of the clip. Now move
That's the New York setting, is it?
What do you want at the end?
Yeah, you're able to go here and you can slow it down. You can repeat it. You can ask it a question again. You can say, well, wait a minute, stop. You're going too fast. Tell me here, how do I do this? Where's this point? And then because it sees your screen, you can literally put your mouse and say, is this the button you're talking about? And it will tell you. Okay, let me.
So basically, you can learn any software just by using it and asking questions on how to use it as you use it.
Exactly. Okay, let me just take and jump this to here.
Oh, that's awesome. Hi, I'm in PowerPoint and I'm pulling together a presentation. Can you see this slide on my screen?
Yes, I can see your PowerPoint slide titled Future Plans and mentions opening 100 more retail locations for the Kevin Cookie Company next year. Is there anything specific you'd like to discuss about it?
Yeah, we're a fast-growing company. We're opening up a lot of locations. The one thing is I look at this slide here and it doesn't feel that inspiring. I feel like I could make this better. Any recommendations?
Okay, you feel the future plan slide could be more inspiring and you're looking for recommendations. Is that correct?
That's right.
All right, one way to make this slide more inspiring could be to add some visuals. Perhaps a map showing where these 100 new locations might be. Or maybe a collage of images showcasing happy customers enjoying the cookie. About these suggestions.
That's a good idea. How would I insert a map in here?
To insert a map, you could use the Insert tab in PowerPoint. Then select Pictures or Online Pictures to find a map image. Alternatively,
okay, hold on a second. I'm here in Online Pictures. What should I search for?
So you're talking about new retail locations. You could search for a map of the region or country you plan to expand in. Alternatively, if you want to focus on...
Just jump in here. We're planning on opening stores throughout the world, so maybe I just type in map of world.
Okay, a map of the world sounds good, given your plans. You want to search for a specific type of map, like a political map or a physical map, or just any map of the world?
What do you think of these options? Which one do you think would work well?
Out of the options shown, the one in the top left corner and the one in the top middle seem like good choices. They both have a clear and easy to read design, and they show all the countries of the world. Would you like to try one of those?
Yeah, let me try this. Let's try inserting that on the slide. Okay. Ooh, that's big.
Yes, the map is quite large. You can resize it by clicking and dragging the corners or edges of the image. Would you like me to walk you through that, or do you have any other ideas for the slide?
No, I think I'm good. This tech is a fantastic example of the positive benefits of AI. You can now learn at your own pace, on your own terms. But One thing to be cautious of, the AI sees everything on your screen. If you're working with confidential content, be mindful of what you share. According to Google, used to improve their product, which likely means.
Okay, let me stop the share at this point. Yeah, and so the point here is don't put your confidential information into tools like this. But the bottom line for us right now is what we saw here is that it can walk you through to learn any new software you're not familiar with. Right now, because the combination of the Zoom and the combination of a lot of windows that I have opened here, I'm hitting resource limitations that's causing it difficult for me to actually show you me doing it. But I can assure you, before the call, I've actually gone through and I've actually generated these. It will do a recording for you. It'll save it as a recording, so you can use that to create a tutorial to show others, where you walk them through and say, oh, okay, here's how you do this and here's how you do that, where you're asking. But what I find more interesting here almost is, did you notice that that he asked, well, what do you think I can do to make this slide more interesting? In other words, that wasn't here, how do I use this software? He was asking, what should I want to do? What should my goal be? So it's not just a tutor. It can be a guide. It can be a guide not only for using the software, but a guide for doing anything you want to do. Now, if you recall, when he was showing here how you started, and he came and after he turned his microphone on, which, by the way, when I go in and do it, I clicked on the microphone initially and it turned it off because I wasn't aware my microphone was on automatically, as well as the sharing of the screen. So from something else I had done, I guess. So just don't automatically assume. You always have to click on the microphone button at the bottom. The other thing about it is, if you remember, it said, okay, what do you want to look at? You can look at sharing of the screen or sharing your camera. Now, I have here, I'm going to switch over to my other device. Let me just see for a minute. Okay, I'm going to turn this audio off for a second. Okay, oh, let me turn off. Oh, okay, if I hold it in front of me, maybe. Okay, so you can see, turn the volume up.
Not getting an echo.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I clicked on the little button. Okay. I don't know if that's a good idea. That's going to work.
Now we can't hear you at all.
Okay, so that's not the right thing.
Turn down the volume on your phone all the way down, maybe.
I just turned the volume down on my phone, but I wanted to be able to share this. ChatGPT, are you there? ChatGPT? Okay. You're going to have to take my word. For that one there. Here's the thing that I was looking to do. When you go into ChatGPT, on the bottom right, there's that little symbol of like a speaker. And if you click on that, you're in advanced audio. The new version of advanced audio, when you go in, it has a bunch of other buttons at the bottom of the screen. And in one point, there's a picture of a camera. If you click on that the thing of the camera there, what it does is it gives you the choice also it can turn your camera on, or it can give you the screen. So you can share your screen. Now this thing won't even let me. Hold on a minute. So we're giving that guy a break because I'm powering him off. So at any rate, what you're able to do, and by that Kevin Stratford here, he has another video out that he even did more recently, and there's some other ones out there. You know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to send out a paper with several of the videos we've been talking about. But what it does is if you switch to the camera mode, there are videos out there that show a person that attached the camera to their chest so it was looking down at their desk in front of them. And they said, I need to solve a physics problem. I need to know here, there's a slope and there's a block at the top of the slope. I need to know how fast is this block accelerating? What is its speed when it's the bottom of the slope? And can you help me? So on the paper, he drew a triangle with a picture of a block at the top of it. And the AI said, oh, yeah, okay, we can do that. But I need to know how steep is the slope and how long is the slope. So can you tell me the height and the base of the triangle that you just drew? And so he just wrote numbers on the bottom and the side and said, well, that's the height and the base. And okay, then that means, so the AI says, fine, that means the hypotenuse is X. And that's the length. Now, how heavy is the block? And so he described the block, and then they had a discussion. Okay, what's the formula for calculating the acceleration of a block of that weight and that slope for that distance? And it came up with the formula. And what was very funny is that in his handwriting, he was sloppy in writing. There was a 2 that went into the formula somewhere, and he was sloppy writing the 2. And so the AI is reading his handwriting and misinterpreted it. And so then they discovered what the cause was, and that he had to correct the 2, and it was fine. It was able to calculate the speed the block would have at the time it hit the bottom of the slope. And then he asked, oh, well, then how long will it take it to go from the top to the bottom? And it was able to do that just from his drawings in front of him. There's also a video of literally being able to walk around and wearing these glasses and getting information about anything around you, or just having conversations about it. So it's pretty amazing. So I'll post that example. So we can see 2 things that we're able to do so far here. On the one hand was to be able to share my screen and have a conversation about what was going on my screen. And not only the conversation about what was going on, but a conversation about what could be going on. So, oh, you need to go here, you need to go there. But we saw it doesn't understand everything because it didn't understand that Notebook LM, for example. It didn't understand what all the buttons are. But one of the big QuickBooks is an accounting package here that these guys are starting to go and use this kind of technology to be able to walk any customer through how to use their software to do their accounting or to do their taxes or whatever. And this is going to come, everybody's going to go this. So the main thread that you see on YouTube videos is this is the end of tutorial videos. Why is anybody going to make tutorial videos if anybody can go in and have a tutor sitting on their shoulder telling them how to do whatever it is they're trying to do? This is the start of what we call just-in-time knowledge. And this is going to, I think, have a revolutionary effect if I can go and load in a book, which, by the way, supposedly we can do that. If I had stayed in the leftmost box there, I could load in a large document, and we can now discuss that. So I can discuss and say, I'm on page 213 of my algebra book here, and I'm having trouble understanding what do you mean by this? So it's, in a way, it's the same thing that we're trying to do with Notebook LM. This is that thing that I said is missing, the ability for me to just have a chat about anything while it's going live. Now, Notebook LM is about a collection of all the knowledge of a knowledge base. Here, I can have it about something physical in the world around me. I can have it about a conversation that I'm having here. Conceivably, you can actually have a Zoom call going on and have your AI there discussing with you what's going on in the Zoom call. So it's just up to our imagination about all the different things that we can do with that technology. And by the way, that is the same interface you can use. You can use it right now to chat about anything, just the same as ChatGPT. And it's rated to be at somewhere between the level of ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 01. So that's it's considered to be a high quality tool right now, and the chat conversations are pretty amazing with that. Just if you're just using Flash 2.0, but you do have to make sure the model is set to Flash 2.0 because it comes up as Flash 1.5 Pro. That's the default. Okay. So can we see how these tools that we've been talking about here can revolutionize the learning process and also just the learning for us wanting to learn about something and understand something? Your thoughts on what the implications of that are, and just think here that this is today. Most of this was not doable 6 weeks ago. So imagine where we're going to be 6 weeks from now. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, Sam Altman from OpenAI, ChatGPT, announced that ChatGPT 5.0 is coming possibly within a month or so by they're integrating ChatGPT into, I don't know if it was 03 or 01. But we're going to see probably a real quantum leap taking place. In addition, DeepMind, which is Google, and they now call it Deep Brain or something, I think. At any rate, what they have done, all ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, even Gemini right now, all of these are based on what's called the transformer architecture that was discovered in, I think, around 2017 or something, or that's when they really started to move forward on these. But they've now discovered a new architecture called Titans that is expected to revolutionize what's going on here, especially the perspective of memory. What we saw here right now is that the AI tools, they can see everything we can see, they can hear everything we can hear, and we can converse with them about everything we can see and hear, or about anything that's out there as a book or abstract, an image or whatever. One of the limiting factors is the amount of memory. It's pretty good. I use ChatGPT a lot, and it remembers most of the things that I can see when I tell it that, hey, you're an expert in this field or that field. I can see it saying, hey, I'm adding that to the knowledge there of the memory, and it does use it. Because I see here that it will bring information in from previous conversations that I've had with it into new queries there. Ian, yes, you have your hand up. You're muted, Ian.
Just while we were in this meeting, I managed to record chapter 7, given the few bits and pieces that you told me. What I did was I took all the recordings I did of my own voice and put it into a 2-minute file, cloned my voice from that. Took all the recordings I did of a female voice. So I had done these recordings, put them through Magic Mic. So I had all these files, stuck them all together using Audacity, put them in as the other clone, and then the other one for an extra male voice. And now I just went into 11 Labs and said, okay, use this clone, this clone, this clone, this clone. Updated the thing. I had to take it through Audacity again to have the correct bit rate. But once that was done, the what do they call it? ACX accepted it, and that's chapter 7 done.
Okay, so hey, it shows that our meeting
So
is
that's 100 times as fast as what I could do by recording my own voice. But I suppose I had to have some of those recordings in order to do it in the first place.
Yes.
But that's fine. I'm going to finish it today.
Okay, so we've already had a success.
So just to show there is progress.
I'm glad to see our meeting has had some value. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of things, but going back to what was the original goal of what we were talking about? We said here we wanted to create a way, an opportunity for people to be able to gather knowledge about some topic and be able to work with that knowledge in many ways, to be able to explain it to others, to be able to understand it better ourselves, to be able to analyze it, to dig deep in different perspectives. And hopefully we
put it as an Audible on Amazon.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it is Audible. And we talked about using Perplexity. We didn't go into DeepMind, but I'll include with the follow-up document here, I'll include some links to some videos that show how to use the DeepMind function, or you can test it out yourself using the tutorial capabilities of AI Studio. But the thing that is important for us to remember, Google was written off 2 months ago. Everybody had written Google off, said, "Oh, come on, forget about them. They missed the boat. You know, they're so far behind." Right now, when we think Notebook LM is Google, Deep Research is Google, the live streaming is Google. So the race is on, and we see Copilot. Here, if you haven't seen the recent interview of Mustafa Suleiman, who was one of the co-founders of DeepMind, Google DeepMind, and he now heads up the AI research at Microsoft, talking about the rise of companions. So think of the technologies that we've been looking at right now. We go to an app here, we go to an app there to do different things. Imagine here that your cell phone within a matter of months, the technologies are already all there. So imagine here in a period of just months, all of that's going to come together. And what does that mean? It means that it's all coming together to a single interface. Right now, what is the hot topic? If you look in YouTube, the number one hot topic everybody is talking about is agents, AI agents that do things for you. And ChatGPT just released a thing called tasks, where you can schedule certain AI functions to happen at certain points of time. And we have a number of tools like Make and others that will let you assemble sequences of AI steps now, but that's all going away. They're calling it the end of apps. You're not going to go to the weather app to find the weather. You're not going to go to Maps app to find the maps. In fact, you don't have to even right now. ChatGPT just built into ChatGPT. You can ask it any question. It'll display the maps right in ChatGPT for you. And everything that's going on there with maps and everything that's around there. If you want to know, okay, where's there a pit stop in the next 30 minutes on the road, whatever it is.
Could I ask it to be able to tell me a particular street that was recently burned and show me the picture of it?
Probably. I would imagine, yes, you can. ChatGPT, you can. I think it's a little different depending on the tool, because some tools still do not have live internet search. You saw that when I tried to do in Gemini 2.0 live streaming, it said, oh, it doesn't have live access to the internet. However, if I just go to the part where it says talk to Gemini, it does. So these pieces don't necessarily work together. It's like in ChatGPT, I now have the ability to have it look through my camera, see what's on my camera sees, to watch what's going on my screen, and to talk about it. I can do most of what you saw me do with Gemini 2.0 in terms of working with my screen and asking it, how do I do this? How do I do that? In ChatGPT as well. But what I can't do is I can't say, I want to talk about this document. I can't talk about this book. How ridiculous is that? This is a matter, in my opinion, of weeks. They are integrating the multimodal aspect so that it will work across all modes.
What about Apple computers? I don't ever hear Apple ever mentioned.
Now Siri includes a direct interface to ChatGPT. So in talking to Siri, you can say, okay, ask ChatGPT that. So and Siri will answer for ChatGPT. But what that is still doing, my understanding is Siri is taking what you say in the audio, converting it into text, passing the text to ChatGPT, getting the text back from ChatGPT, converting it back to voice. That is what the advanced voice in ChatGPT has avoided. They have found a way so that they can actually process the audio voice without having to do the translation to and from text. That's why they are able to reduce the latency as much as they have. I don't know. Gemini has greatly sped up. They're almost at the same zero latency as we get with ChatGPT. But I don't know if they have found just a faster way of handling the conversion to text and back, or if they're also just using voice to voice without needing the text translation. But they're all getting so fast. And so when we think about it, okay, I've got the ability to see, I've got the ability to hear, I've got the ability of reasoning going in there. And I can talk about abstract things that they can't see. For example, they can see what's on my screen on a piece of software I'm using, but that didn't tell them how to do what I'm trying to do. If I go in, you saw with the case of Excel, or if I'm using PowerPoint, or if I'm using some of the newer or the products that have been around longer, it's able to tell me, oh, you need to go here, you need to click that, and oh, yes, you're in the right place. No, you're not in the right place. You need to do that differently. So how far away are we from having that single voice interface to everything? To everything. I don't have to say go to maps. I just say, where's this? I don't have to go to weather. I can just say, what's the weather? I don't have to go into to the spreadsheet. If I just need to say, oh, there, I have a spreadsheet out there that has this and that. I need to make these changes, and it's going to do it. Or at least it'll bring it up and tell you. But within, I don't think it's more than 2 to 3 months, it'll actually do what you ask it to do. It will actually make the reservations at the restaurant for you, the hairdressers. It will actually pay things for you. It'll actually order things for you. It's going to do many things, and that is just going to grow and grow and grow. I had to change my car insurance the other day, and I found, oh no, actually I had an earache and I had to get a doctor's appointment. And the doctor's service organization that I go through to get appointments, that is, if I did that a couple of weeks ago, it was very crude. Lots of pauses, lots of things it couldn't do. It had to literally ask you, like go through the menus and things like this. I did this yesterday, and I just literally was able to talk. You really couldn't tell you weren't talking to a person. Could it handle every single thing? No, but it really it did like 80% of what I needed to do. It was only when it got to the fact that the doctor was not the one doctor was not there, and to find the other, that it had to switch to a person. So anyway, what is your conclusion? Was this valuable? Was this useful? What we've done here today? So
definitely to me anyway. Whatever about anybody else.
And I corrected here that on the invitation, there's the link to be able to join the group that wants to join a research team to study some areas. And you can join that and become members of multiple research teams. So Kurt, you can do your peace teams there, create some peace teams to say, okay, why are we not doing this? Why is this so difficult? How can we do that? You can, gather what are all the attempts? It's so hard to go and say, if we say universal basic income, there's been hundreds of tests, experiments done in different parts of the world to be able to say, pull together all the examples of
and almost all of them have been successful.
Well,
and yet we still can't get it.
Well, yes, but it's very interesting because one of the things that it came back, because that's one of the ones I've done some research on, was it came back that the big fear is that if people can get money for free, that's going to reduce their incentive to work. But we have
never has.
Yeah, well, the research all has shown the opposite, that when you take that pressure off of people for survival, that people actually will work harder because now they can apply themselves in a more meaningful way.
Follow their juice.
But here's the
follow their juice.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing, that the main reason we're going to need universal basic income is because there's not going to be any jobs. So why do we worry about the incentive, whether people are going to be willing to go and work, when the cause is there is no work?
The biggest worry I would have about UBI is its decreasing value because of corporations and whatever trying to get in there and get hold of that money.
Well, here's the thing about it. Yes, but it comes up that you come up with two financing models. So one financing models is you tax the people who own the corporations that are and the people that are benefiting through the use of these technologies. But the other model says, no, we move on to a sharing of the world's resources and production capabilities, so that everybody owns all those.
I just put the T end on about 5 minutes ago.
And
The problem with the UBI is it does not survive with a capitalist structure. And me being in the US, we are extreme capitalism.
right.
The odds of that even coming close to surviving is dead in the water. So what you have to do is not only convince people that this is what they need, and a lot of these people that believe in a capitalist structure, but also you have to move off the capitalist structure, which for decades and decades has been painted as the only right way to have a country run and survive, just based off of what we feed our own citizens, whether it be right or wrong. A lot of it have it be propaganda, but you cannot convince a lot of people to just buy into this new idea. That is the one fear that I would have with such a system.
Yeah, well, as I said, the question comes how we finance it. But I think here, who are some of the main proponents of a universal basic income? And Elon Musk is one of them. And Elon Musk is one of the very, very few outsiders who's now going to have an office in the White House right next to President Trump. In fact,
Yeah, but is he going to pay for it?
no, well, probably not. I actually hear a lot of people are saying, will the real president please stand up?
He could pay for it.
Yeah, because a lot of people are wondering, is Trump just the figurehead and Elon Musk is the real president and the real decision maker? But
Yeah, that's been a very successful political thing, you know. Who is the brother?
right. But here's the rub. We know and we look at the speed at which things have happened just in the last 2 months and projected forward. This means that all of this is going to happen during President Trump's presidency. During President Trump's presidency, the estimates here are, and actually I'll include that as a separate category, that the MIT and somebody else did a study on the impact of AI and robots on jobs, and another one is Goldman Sachs, and the estimates are between 44 and 47% of all the jobs in the United States will be gone within the next 5 years. So a significant part of that, if we hit a 20% unemployment in the United States, we are already going to be on the verge of a revolution, because these are going to not be those people in the bottom 20% of the population. These are going to be people that are in the 70th to 90th percentile of the population who are going to lose a lot of the jobs. They're saying here that 44%, I think it is, of all legal jobs in the legal profession will be gone, just for one. So as we look through the impacts of this is exactly, for example, one of the areas to say, what's the impact of AI and robotics on jobs and what time frame? That's one of the learning hubs that we should be gathering all the information, gathering what is the basis of the projections that people are making about how quickly jobs are going to disappear. Another one is going to be about things like the UBI, because if we finance it through taxes, and we've got 10% of the people have to pay for the whole UBI, and 90% of the people have no source of income other than UBI and no means to improve their lot. They're locked in at whatever that UBI is. So it's like the difference between the unions and the owners of companies as to how do we share those benefits. You're going to have a constant conflict. And as that conflict gets to the point where we got maybe 95% of people having nothing but UBI and 5% owning everything, and the 5% owning everything is saying, how do we minimize, how do we keep as much as possible of what there is for us? So we're going to want to minimize the amount that we have to pay for all that UBI. That's the one scenario. The other scenario is that we go to a commons model where all the resources are owned by everybody. And if we look, a Republican government in Alaska went and took all of the oil revenues that the state gets, all the companies that have licenses to be able to extract oil in Alaska have to pay fees and license fees and things like that. All of that money is then distributed out to all the citizens, every single citizen of Canada. They get a dividend every year out of
Alaska. It's Alaska.
Alaska, yes.
Well, actually, in Canada, that's actually how our carbon tax works. Is that actually we get about 3 or 4 checks every year of the revenue that just gets redistributed back to all the citizens as a rebate check. And that carbon tax just goes up and up. Of course, it's tied to the political headwinds of the prime minister and whether they're going to continue to do that.
I think Norway does a similar model with their fossil fuel extractions in Norway.
Yeah.
So we have examples. There's examples out there, but the other thing we have to be very careful about when we talk about universal basic incomes is if it's done on a national basis. Then we have here the European countries, the North American countries that have a relatively high per capita GDP are going to be able to afford a fairly reasonable UBI. Although it's going to be difficult if you've got the bottom 50% of the population only having 2.5% of the wealth. How does somebody who's at the 70th percentile today survive? They can't survive on what somebody in the bottom 50% survive at because they can't meet their obligations, not even their debt, to service their debt. And this could cause the economies to collapse. There's just not enough money in the economies, even in countries like the United States, to be able to afford.
We kind of had that in Ireland after the Celtic Tiger, where people were out of jobs and they're saying, well, how come people from Eastern Europe will take these jobs? It's like if somebody who had been working for 3 to 5 times that amount of money suddenly took that job, like you say, they go into bankruptcy because they couldn't meet their obligations.
Right, and the banks will default. The banks will default, then the economy will falter. But anyway, but still, those countries with a relatively high per capita GDP have a good chance that they'll be able to come up with a reasonable universal basic income for their populations. But countries that have almost no per capita GDP, maybe only a couple $1,000s a year, so maybe a 40th of what the developed countries have, they are not going to be able to come up with a UBI that's going to work for their people. But we're making it permanent because once you put that UBI into effect, there's no way to move up and down. There's no upward mobility for anybody because there's no jobs. So that it's almost impossible for anybody to better their situation other than migration to another country here. So this is going to cause extreme problems. But what we're talking about here is, so that tells us we need to go and create a knowledge base, a knowledge hub, dealing with what are all the issues related to UBI. Because when you go in there and you collect up all that information and then you start asking those questions about, well, does everybody get the same UBI? How do we handle that with the bottom 50%? That if they were to get the same amount that somebody at the 70th, 80th percent gets now, does it work? Does the math even work? So this is why it's so important that we get people starting to collect and build these knowledge hubs. And over time, we will see, we'll have knowledge hubs on everything. We'll have a knowledge hub on how do you fix your leaky faucet? You're going to be able to find out anything because instead of just searching like you do now for a YouTube, you'll search for the knowledge hub on some topic and then be able to go and interact and talk. And by then we should have the voice chat up and then you'll be able to just talk to the knowledge about anything. So
do we have to build a knowledge hub like you did today? I mean, isn't it much easier to go to the internet and get the information there? And isn't there sort of an app like one of these AI apps that just goes directly to the internet instead of us having to load the information?
No, that's the problem. And yes, there are. That's the way the searches work today. But that's the equivalent of going out and standing in the middle of Piccadilly Circus or Times Square and asking the first passerby, what do you think of this? The whole idea of knowledge bases is curating valid information to topics. But like you saw, we're able to leverage the tools like Perplexity and deep research to go and find that good knowledge for us, and then use AI to help us validate the knowledge to say, okay, are we going to include this or we're going to exclude it? Because there's so much bad information out in the internet.
Well, that's the problem. We're already having such a huge issue fighting such misinformation.
Yep.
Just with simple fact versus what people believe. We already cannot change what misinformation has done.
Yep.
Now dig that hole deeper. Where does that lead us?
Well, the whole concept of gigos still holds true. Means garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
We still operate on telephone. We don't operate on news and knowledge anymore. We've like transcended back down to telephone.
Yeah.
I heard from somebody, I then tell somebody else, and they tell somebody. It's no longer what the news is saying or what I've learned through school or what I've read in a book.
Well, that's the social knowledge.
But it's worse than that. It's echo chambers. In other words, the only thing that is true is what I already believed was true before I heard anything new.
Exactly. So then how does we talk about creating the information and making it available for people to then understand and then see what needs to be done and how it can work. Exactly. Yeah. What's our problem?
This is a very good book.
Yeah.
It puts it in terms of what they call the golem. The golem is the giant that kind of everything has to be done a set kind of way, as opposed to the genie, where everybody has constructive criticism of everybody else, and then you actually improve the knowledge as you go along. Whereas the golem just wants everybody to believe and behave in a particular way. And that means that, yeah, it grows, it becomes more powerful, but it's ultimately wrong.
Yeah. I think here who's the author of that, Ian?
That's Tim Urban. He kind of disappeared for a while. He used to do a thing called Wait But Why, and he went away and produced this thing.
Okay, so anyway, here's what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to see if I can put that into Notebook LM and make that available so we can all talk to his book.
Okay, that sounds good.
Anyway, thank you all. Thanks, Bill. Again,
Yes.
I got to get going.
And I think here, it would be really great if we are able to end this meeting before we go over the 3-hour mark, which is
Wouldn't that be good?
our thing here. So we're 20 minutes ahead here. So it would be great if we can end this in the next couple of minutes. And I just want to thank everybody for your attention. And this is the start. Keep in mind all the stuff we looked at, it's going faster and faster. And if we don't find a way to get our arms around it, and especially what Elias was talking about in the belief, we need to create a notebook for determining truth, where we gather up what are the problems, what are the tools available to help us validate information, and that I can very much see that some people will create knowledge hubs and they'll collect all the knowledge to say that the answer is to the left, and the other half of people are going to gather all the knowledge that says the answer is to the right. And you know what? That's the way, because if we have the right to determine what we believe is true, and hopefully we're doing it objectively
so far,
then there's some other people that are going to believe differently, but we can't. At least we can find arguments to justify what we're talking about, because you can go to Notebook LM and say, how do I convince? You can literally say, make me a presentation to convince other people that this is the case, and structure it so it works for 10-year-olds.
Because that's who
I
the
wanted to thank
population
Kurt
is.
as well.
The key statement was, so it works for 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
I was going to say just before we leave, I wanted to thank Kurt as well. He sent a quick email, and I was been using the statement. I have it in front of me on the board here. It says, "Thank you for peace and everything. Everything has peace," and I've used that a few times in the last couple days, just as my response to a few comments that were made during our meetings and discussions, and I think it works very well. You had suggested to use it a few times a day as a
Well, as many
self-reflection.
times well, you don't even need to use it as a self-reflection. When we do it just periodically, it brings us back to that space where we're thinking about peace, and we're more likely to be able to be that peace just for that little bit of time, because we're focusing on 3 breaths with that repetition, breathing in, that simple thing of saying, thank you for peace in everything. And as we breathe out, everything as peace. And that's the tricker, when you can see everything, whatever happens, as peace.
Before we
You can
leave,
stay peaceful in the craziness of life instead of being freaked out and agitated, because that only adds to the agitation.
Before we leave, there's a couple of people here. I don't know, Gitanji, I don't know how long you've been on the session. What do you think of today's session?
My question, Bill, is it possible to ask something to teach me to use the basics of things like chat GTP?
I will send you some videos that show you both how to use some of the tools, but also some links to some of the tools that will teach you and walk you through how to use other tools.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
Okay. Yes, Gitanji, what you started to say?
I really learned. I joined this meeting like an hour ago because I was studying before with a friend. So in that 1 hour time, I realized more about how, even as a student, how much AI impacts, like even if you use like social media apps, there's AI there are AI filters, AI is literally everywhere. And now I'm taking the phrase seriously when they say AI is taking over the world, because now it actually is. And sometimes when it really affects you, you realize that it's not always for the good part. Because for example, sometimes students may use like AI to like cheat, and then they get detected for that by like by some applications that the teachers use to check their work, and then they end up getting like a 0, and sometimes their parents end up being called to the school because in our school it's not allowed to use AI for like like big projects, and if you use it, you're basically cheating, and it can even lead to suspension. So AI
Bill has a lot to say on that.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll just tell you.
Anyway, I have to get off.
Excuse me, I just want to say, Gitanji is an example of such hope for the future. Gitanji is 15 years old in Rwanda. Okay, so we have to realize that the youth, their understanding of what's going on in the world, and the fact that she can be here with people of all ages and really contribute at such a deep level of thinking. Thank you so much, Gitanji, for your presence on these events, and we hope to get a lot more, and we'll be looking to get teams from the different countries around the world that actually participate in doing these research projects, and then you'll be able to show the teachers what you can do, that you're working at levels already 10 years ahead of where those teachers think you're at in what you're capable of learning. So I think it's a we're going to have an exciting new world ahead of us. I'd also like
before I get off, I don't want to interrupt you, Bill, but I did put in the chat if people want to save the chat. There is a meeting coming up on January 24th, AI in the Age of Lifelong Learning, being hosted by UNESCO.
Yeah.
So there's a link you can register for that event. So I just wanted everybody to know about that.
That's really great. Keep in mind, the 24th is the International Day of Education, so it is really a pertinent timing. Thank you, Lloyd.
And the time of that is very early, as far as I remember.
Yeah, because it's Central European time.
Yeah, UNESCO is headquartered in Europe, so that's.
I'm not into waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, but.
Lloyd, would you put that in the various WhatsApp groups that
I put it in some, but I can share for sure. Thank you, Lysinka.
Yes. A couple of other, just real quick. You've been totally quiet the whole session here. What do you think? You're muted, Om.
Put your mic on, please, Om. Aap kaisa hai?
We can't hear you, Om.
Bummer.
Okay. Let's see. Anna, do you want to have any closing comments? Oh, okay. Oh, here comes Om. Om, yes.
Actually, I love the idea, and Kurt had already made a comment in the chat box, so I kind of seconded that. And I'm so impressed with the way things are doing, and also people are thinking of other workforce. So it's like I strongly believe when you have free time, you will use your brain to innovate newer things. Whether it's not going to be plumber's job, but you'll be able to innovate the futuristic environment.
Yes.
That's where we focus on what we want, and that's the big key, because we've seen this. Anna made a comment about, this capitalism and all this stuff, and now we are evolving into that new age, that thing in India, it's called the Satya Yuga, and we just get to focus on it, and then we get it.
Okay, Siklu, any thoughts that you want to add? Edward?
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill. I'm in darkness, so I cannot switch on the video. Everyone is listening to me.
We can hear you, though.
Yes. I'm really excited about this AI, but at the same time, I'm worried about the future of our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren as education, because if you can sit and write a dissertation within just a split second, a few minutes, what is that learning really? Or it will be like you are copying somebody who has done it in the past. So really the future of learning and education and effective learning and teaching is really questionable. I think some safeguards should be in place to say, yes, you can access and utilize the AI, but with limitations, so that the children do not access it freely to like copying and cutting and pasting whatever answers to questions being asked, especially in the courseworks. Thank you.
Yeah, Edward, a very interesting topic you bring up. But I think we're beyond that. I think here that nobody's going to cut and paste anything, because everybody is going to know everything. I'm going a little bit far ahead right now, but the chip in the brain, or even the cap that they're experimenting with in Japan and in Australia, they're able to actually import the knowledge. In other words, your brain will literally be connected to the internet, and you will know everything. You'll be able to speak all 7,000 languages in the world. Well, maybe those that are captured. So maybe it's a couple of hundred languages, but you're going to know them without having to learn them. You're just going to know the languages. You're going to know Everything. There's nothing that a human teacher has got to offer that the students will not already know. So
And that's why I put in something on Carolyn Baumgartner's comment, is that we get to be able to go within. There's a great a Shaolin master that I've been listening to again. I tuned into him a number of years ago, but the inward experience of all our senses. Are we guided by our senses, or are we guided by what is inside that gives us that ability to create the incredible love that we are, the essence of life? And this is the most important, most valuable thing, because joy will exude from ourselves when we tap into that.
Yeah.
And
it's
most people
I
are
don't
getting
understand.
distracted by so many other things.
I don't understand how that relates to AI, because to my way of thinking, and this is very basis to everything I'm trying to do, so it's important for me to understand you, is that AI uses the thinking and the logical progression, whereas the part that deals with intuition, with insight, with the higher self, that side, the creative side of ourselves, is not encompassed by AI, so that in a future economy, people will be able to specialize on their inner, their personal development, inner, but also outer. That was my understanding. Is that different from what you're saying?
AI
No,
goes
not at all.
AI goes further. AI actually can deal with you as the individual and be working together with your intuitive side, with your feeling side, with your emotional side, and help you expand those sides as well. So if you're going, this is what I was talking about at the beginning, that some people just go to AI and say, "What's this?" or "How do you do that?" Whereas other people say, "Why is this? Why is that important? Why do I care?" And get into those aspects. So
No, but that is exactly what I'm saying that AI does. And what I was actually asking Kurt is whether the other side of the brain, with the development of that, which doesn't, if we get, say, AI asking us the questions, we're going back into the left side of the brain. But I was wondering about the development of our own brain coming from within, which is where it needs to come from, if that side is really to develop well. And Kurt, I was asking if that was, whether you see that way as well. I understand what you're saying, Bill, because we have had that, conversation before. Kurt.
The whole essence of a human being is not, like you said, about this left brain kind of thing, because that's AI. And the usage of it, the application of it, it's like we can use it for good, bad, or ugly. And it's all how we've been, quote, raised, and the experiences that we've had in our life. Because if I lived and was raised like Biden or like Trump, I would more likely be like them with that kind of a upbringing. Maybe not as much as them, because I was born with a different, let's say, karma and insights and so on, whatever the gifts are that I've been given. But we get to be able to apply them as best we can with the compassion and love that we get to be able to experience, all because we have this interface with anybody and everybody from a heart level. Because we can talk from the head level, like a lot of teachers are didactic and just telling you and memorize this and that. They're like an AI kind of a thing. When we get a teacher that draws forth from the student their juices, then they flourish. It's like my vision for peace is much different than a lot of other people's vision for peace. And when you create your own vision of peace, what happens? We get to be able to start to manifest it. And my vision is real simple. It's to be able to make it so that I know that total peace is possible. And because of that, I am the peace that excites in others their vision of peace. so that we unite together in creating peace in everything, everything as peace. Now, that's my vision. When you create yours and we support each other in that, you may have more of a focus on one thing or another, because some people focus on education more, or whatever it is that they have as their juice. And we get to be able to create more and more peace. So again, this is using this whole being. It's not just right and left hemispheres, because we are much more than just this brain. There's some people talk about chakras, some people talk about 7, some people talk about 14, and so on and so forth. What it is that we can evolve a lot better when we model ourselves with nature, because nature totally collaborates and cooperates. And there is, as you know, everybody knows there's competition in nature, but competition is part of the growth and so on. And yeah, I could talk all
Kurt,
day on
if
this.
I can add, Kurt, because Kurt just said something very important. He said that the experiences of an individual in their life helps shape them, helps shape their inner self of who they are, who they believe. And the thing that we keep forgetting, we say AI as if it's something. And I said there's no intelligence to AI, number one, and it's not artificial. What it is it's the knowledge and experiences of a single human versus the knowledge and experiences of the collection of humanity, the recorded collective humanity. And that means that all of those all those left brain parts of those millions of other humans out there now become exposed. People become exposed to both sides. And as a result, this is likely to change them because they're going to be exposed to everything. Whereas that the way it works right now, you can grow up in a certain environment and you're pushed to the right wing or you're pushed to the left wing, and that flavors when you go and see a homeless person on the street, why people react very differently. Some people are going to react with disgust and some people are going to react with empathy. But the more people are exposed to, you see it so strongly when you see people who have traveled a lot around the world and people who have never traveled more than 100 miles from where they were born, that the people that travel around the world, they have totally different understandings that, you know what, those people living in China, they're not very different from us. They got the same aspirations, and the things that are important to them are the same. And we see that literally all over the world. We see people.
I think the most annoying part of that is that it's not the aspirations, it's the limitations.
Yes. Yep. Well, both.
That is the thing when you travel around the world, you know, you hear people saying, well, I suppose people are the same everywhere, and they are, but they're more defined by their limitations than by their aspirations.
It's interesting. Yeah, but it's interesting to see.
Part of it.
It's interesting to see how they react to their limitations is very similar to what anybody else would react to those limitations. That, you know, there's the one thing to say, yeah, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know, growing up in the United States, we are painted one picture, for example, of China. I went to China and I backpacked for over a month around, I think, 14 cities, and meeting people on the street, meeting and talking to people through the translators in their telephones on the trains, and you find out that, wait a minute, their thinking is totally different from what we've been led to believe. Their lives, their standard of lives, the way they go about their daily things. I was blown away that young people that I met, high school and university level people in China, were as informed about, or more informed actually, about what was taking place daily all around the world. It wasn't like, no, they're blocked. They can't see what's going on anywhere in the world. All they get is the propaganda. Well, I'll tell you what, these people have figured out how to get beyond all the propaganda there, because they are able to describe what's going on in different parts of the world in an amazing way. And we get people here like Gitanji that is so impressive when you talk to her. You can talk to her about anything in the world. Okay, so so we see and we know from these events. I met Gitanji at a Model UN event here in the States, but there were people there from Pakistan. There were people from numerous countries, and this is where you realize the ability to sit together, or look at the delegations at the UN, and look at the way the people that you can sit there and you discuss about world issues and things that are going on. And it's not like the people from poor countries around the world don't know or have different positions. They understand the problems the same way. Maybe what they can think of doing about them might be different. So, but I think here, and Hope just brought us the next generation that's going to be, just imagine what they're going to be doing with AI here. They're going to, when they're 10 years old or 15 years old, wow. They're going to all be PhD level. Okay.
And you won't even be, they'll have their own avatar as their secretary or something like that,
Oh, that they sent to
and the PhD will mean, instead of what it means piling higher and deeper, PhD is going to be playing happily daily.
There we go. That's a good.
That's what my PhD was about anyway.
So yes,
it's in my book. It shows in my book.
Guys, we can't believe we didn't manage to stay in that 3 hours. We're over by a minute. So
okay, Bill, lovely. Thank you. Very interesting.
So
we get to do the peace salute.
All right, then.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'll try to send out a follow-up to this here within the next day or so. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Shalom, peace.
See you Monday.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.